Bob Murray was born in 1940. Bob Murray was paralyzed. No, his father was paralyzed in a mining accident when Murray was only 9 years old. Then Bob Murray experienced 2 accidents on the job. He lied about his age so he could work in a coal mine at 16 years of age to provide for family. Murray says he suffered through several mining accidents. Says at least 2 accidents, right? One occasion he got hit in the head with an 18-foot steel beam. And then another time he's got a scar running down his head, down his back from a separate accident. And then another time he was trapped in a dark mine for 12 hours before being rescued. Bob Murray was also valedictorian of Bethesda High School, class of 1957, when he received a Bachelor of Engineering in Mining from Ohio State University and completed the Advancement Management program at the Harvard Graduate School of Business. Well, la-di-da, look at Bob Murray. So I just watched John Oliver, and I was pretty disappointed with him because he totally wimped out. He totally fucking wimped out. So he stands strong against Bob Murray, and he was all like, you know, fuck you, Bob Murray. And he basically pinned Bob Murray up against a wall with one story, which Bob Murray is a liar. He's, worse than Jonathan Pie, right? Jonathan Pie, who's funny and entertaining and informative, is not actually a reporter. So he is fake news, right? Just like the Daily Show. They are fake news, literally. And that's what they make their business being. And that's where John Oliver came from. So John Oliver, he points out that Bob Murray there was 6 people that had died in the Crandall Canyon mine collapse in 2007 in Utah, in August 2007. And so there was 6 people, 6 miners who had died, and then there was 3 rescuer people that tried to rescue them, and then they died too. And so that's, fucking horrible. That sucks. And the reasons for it, so he says, Bob Murray, he says that the reason for the collapse was because of an earthquake. He was like, hey, this is the first accident I've had in 20 years, and it was that damn earthquake. So an earthquake. That would be crazy. What a weird ass coincidence, right? You're sitting there mining and then all of a sudden this earthquake happens. But that's not the truth. What actually happened is it's called a coal mine bump. See, they use retreat mining. That's another thing he's lying about. So retreat mining actually increases the amount of coal that you can get. You can get another 75% of coal ore because of the pillars, and it's called the Rumen pillar mining, the underground mining technique as the Rumen. So retreat mining is you can go deep into the earth or the mountainside. You put up all these pillars, to make sure the mine's integrity, and then as you go to the very end, you're scooping all this coal up. You let the back end collapse for some reason. Why would you do that? I guess, I don't know. But it's dangerous, but higher the risk, higher the reward. So as a business person who actually, is supposed to make those hard decisions to make, their companies efficient, higher the risk, the higher the reward. So if you do this Rumen pillar mining, then you should be extra careful. It's extra dangerous, so you should be extra careful. But he denies that there was any retreat mining. And then that earthquake that he was talking about was actually a coal mine bump. So a coal mine bump is a seismic jolt occurring with the underground mine due to the explosive collapse of one or more of the support pillars. Right. So they're doing this retreat mining where they're setting all these pillars up and going deep into it and then just letting it collapse as they, come out. But you got to be careful because if you let part of it collapse, then how does the whole thing not collapse? Right? So you have to just basically somehow set it up to where only the end collapse. The people are really far away, or they should be far away. But I think they're like going like a mile or 3 miles into, the ground. So, but you could also get a lot more coal, 75%. You have a greater return of a 75%. So the people who take those jobs, they get paid really well because it's dangerous. And with something like that, the safety precautions should be that much more. But unfortunately, Bob Murray, he didn't give a fuck. He was like, fuck your safety. The Crandall Canyon mine had received 64 violations, $12,000 worth of fines. So they've been violating, 64 times. That's tickets, right? So that's what, breaking the fucking law? And then $12,000 in fines. He said, it was just for not having the right kind of toilet paper. Is that what the fucking EPA is doing? They're checking to see if there's a good quality toilet paper. And then what kind of shitty ass toilet paper did you have? Like that fucking scratchy shit? Or do you have like, a nice smelling pristine, shitter that has double or 3 plies? It's downy soft. Did you have baby wipes? Did any of them actually have clean asses because of the shitty ass toilet paper? Toilet paper is pretty fucking important, but it's not, life or death. And you're telling me all 64 violations, none of them had to do with life and death. So the fact that his father was rendered paralyzed, and the fact that he's been in the coal miner story, his origin story is pretty good, right? You would think he would be able to empathize. You'd think he would understand what the fuck it feels like to lose somebody to a coal mining accident. And then he even said that, 20 years. In 20 years, the first accident was this August 2007 accident, which 6 miners had died. 6 miners had died, but instead of him admitting to any of it, instead of him saying, like, look, we fucked up and, we did these safety mechanisms, this safety mechanism, but we didn't do enough and they died. You should apologize for it. Each one of those families should get, $3 million at least, their estate. And then, move on. So admit, if you're an honest fucking person, admit that you did wrong here. That's what JFK did with the Bay of Pigs. It's what Lennox Mint did when they got hacked. They got hacked, but they put out the information, hey, we got hacked. Here's what you need to do in order to save yourself. And then, now everything's cool. So, jump out in front of it, fix it, and then after it's fixed, then you could say, hey, it's all good. That's how I understand the PR. But this makes me feel like you're a fucking liar. Bob Murray is a fucking liar. Bob Murray is lying about this. There was that story about the squirrel. I'm glad they did fucking mock him with the squirrel because I bet it is fucking true. John Oliver 2 times said it wasn't true. So that's what this lawsuit is going to come down to, is the best defense against libel or slander is the truth. Oh yeah, you're saying that I'm making up shit, but I'm not making up shit. There were reports that a squirrel had talked to Bob Murray into buying a coal company. That's what union miners had said, that he told them several times that a squirrel actually ran out of the forest and jumped up on a perch and was like, listen, Bob Murray, you know what you need to do? You need to buy yourself a coal company. So, and then he did what that fucking squirrel... I mean, why would they make... What a weird story. What a weird story to fucking make up. That sounds like... He looks like a crazy fucking greasy old person. Another thing the lawsuit said, it went on and on about... He's 77 years old and he's on a dialysis and he's, basically like Bin Laden, right? He's just like Bin Laden. He's sick and he's 77 years old. He does look like a geriatric Dr. Evil. He looks like Jabba the Hutt. He is a disgusting creature. He is an ugly person. He actually makes Roger Ailes look like Marilyn Monroe. So he is gross and disgusting. If he didn't make money, there would be no way anybody would ever fucking pay attention to this guy whatsoever. He is not charismatic. He is not interesting. He is definitely the main oppressor. He always talks about, my people, I'm helping my people. He does not resonate with the fucking coal workers. There's 3,000 employees, so that means he's got wage slaves that have to do his bidding, right? Wage slaves who only do what the fuck he says because they're getting a paycheck. Which is, if you're able to control people's behavior, that's power. But he's a fucking pig. He's a disgusting, ugly, Roger Ailes looking motherfucker. So seriously, look him, Google him. He's like if Jabba the Hutt and human had, cloned or cross-pollinated, you would get Bob Murray. Bob Murray. Fucking Bob Murray. Talking to squirrels and shit. So, he also said in the lawsuit, there's the 9 funniest lines in the lawsuit. And there is some funny shit. So, this is a bullshit. It's a frivolous lawsuit. It's going to get thrown out. One lawyer said it was vexatious. This vexatious lawsuit. Okay. But it's a frivolous thing. It's just a way for these, he had sued the New York Times before. He's had 9 lawsuits in the last 10 years. So he's sued the New York Times. Basically, it's just a way to push back. And even if it's true, it's like, well, but next time you run a story, you'll think twice and you'll be extra careful. You're not going to just run off at the mouth, basically talking like the way I'm talking right now. You're not just going to be spouting off at the mouth and just talking off the top of your head. You make sure you double check. And actually, John Oliver double checked his shit. 2 times he said that he did not believe the story about the squirrel. He did, bring out a big squirrel, Nutter Butter, and he was like, look, it's Nutter Butter. So he's making it sound like, like a children's show. Like, look, Bob Murray, there's Nutter Butter, And then he had him, do that check thing, which is another thing. These fucking co-operators fuck him over on the pensions, and they fuck him over on the retirement, and then, the mine safety, clearly in Utah, right? They didn't give a fuck at the Crandall Canyon mine. They didn't give a shit about fucking safety there. And, if they did, how come 6 miners died? How come the mine collapsed and 6 people... They didn't deserve to die. Those 6 people didn't deserve to die. Robert Murray needs to appreciate life. Okay, if paying several $1 million doesn't make him appreciate fucking life. I mean, what a fucking psycho. What a psycho. So, the Roark Capital Group, did you know that Arby's, they have more employees at Arby's than in the coal industry? So, the coal industry, they employ, here it says in February 2017, 50,000. So we got 50,000 coal miners total. In 2014, it was 76,000. So 25,000 have been lost from, 2014 until today. So that's 6 months under Trump's watch. But they're saying, oh, they're coming back, right? Apparently, Trump was able to find 1,300 more coal jobs. So there's been a slight increase. That's what he's bragging about. Who knows what the fuck is... what numbers to believe, right? Department of Labor Statistics, that sounds good. All right, so right now we got 50,000 coal miners. Compare that to Arby's, who has between 74,000 to 80,000 employees. So that means Arby's employs more people than the coal mining industry. In fact, the bowling industry, bowling facilities and the people who run bowling alleys, that makes up 69,000 employees. Skiing facilities, 75,000. Those are both above 50,000. That's how many employees are employed by the coal industry. Travel agencies, that's 99,000 people. So in travel agencies, in used car dealerships, there's 138 people that work in used car dealerships. Whole Foods employs 72,650. Dollar General employs 105,000. 105,000. This Roark Capital Group made me think of this. Because the Roark Capital Group is the company that owns Arby's. So if you're like, I hate that damn Arby's, you should be pissed off at the Roark Capital Group. That's a company they own. And it's called Roark, named for Howard Roark, the protagonist in Ayn Rand's novel, The Fountainhead. And Howard Roark is a fucking badass. Howard Roark is such a badass. God, he's such a badass. I like him. I'm a lefty, but I liked Howard Roark. I disagree. He destroyed all those low-income public housing projects that he had designed because he designed it. So therefore, he said that the idea was his, and if he wanted to blow up the projects, then he was allowed to do so. Right? The idea was his, but it's for public projects, so it's for public house, so people have a place to live. People need a fucking place to live, and if you had a good economical, plan, did he get paid for his idea? Did he get paid for that, to think that he could blow up a whole fucking building just because what? This is the grand finality, the climax of The Fountainhead was that Howard Roark blows up his public housing projects that he had created. But if somebody was to, let's take the World Trade Center. Who designed the World Trade Center? If it was Howard Roark, he thinks he has a right to blow that up. Now, nobody, was killed in the explosion, but it was sabotaged and he's blowing up private property. Did he pay for all that private property? Does he think just because he thought of the fucking idea, then he actually owns the entire, organism? So, and he's not the first person to think of, efficient, low-income housing. That's everybody should, anybody who gives a shit, like, in government, if you're trying to, like, care about poor people or care about the homeless, they need to get in homes, right? They need to get in houses, and you need to build, as many tiny, small houses, what the fuck ever you can, so that way they have some place to live. In the meantime, these shelters, right? You gotta at least provide cots and a couple hot meals for them so they can keep on living. So JCPenney, $114,000. JCPenney, $114,000. Dollar General, $105,000 employees. So Walmart employs 2.2 million employees. So Walmart is 28 times bigger than the coal industry. So 28 times. So the coal industry, Arby's is more important than the coal industry. Bowling is more important than the coal industry. Skiing, travel agencies, used car dealerships, Whole Foods, Dollar General, JCPenney, theme parks, like, Kings Island, car wash employees, people who work at car washes, 150,000. People who wash cars, 150,000. There are more people who wash cars. More people who wash cars than who are part of the coal industry. So the coal industry doesn't provide that many jobs for it to actually take so much, it's fucking Mitch McConnell. Fucking, I understand coal. He's so stupid. He talks so stupid. Just sitting there saying, well, Obama is bad for coal. He's bad for... Coal's a fucking rock, right? Coal's a rock. And so Mitch McConnell sits there and acts like by talking about coal, he cares about the coal miner, he cares about the little people, the poor people. He's going to pass a fucking healthcare bill that kills 23 million people. That's what Mitch McConnell's going to do. 23 million people are going to get kicked out. He don't give a shit about poor people. He don't give a shit about working class people. He only gives a shit about the Bob Murrays. And so does Donald Trump. Donald Trump tells Bob Murray, I love you, man. How many people does Donald Trump even love or give a shit about? But he loves Bob Murray. He loves Bob Murray. And so Bob Murray is suing. It's a frivolous lawsuit. It's going to get thrown out. He's got freedom of speech. He was very careful with the factual statements. He was sitting there saying that Bob Murray claimed that it was an earthquake, but these studies said that it wasn't an earthquake. So he said who said it. He said where the report came from. So you would have to go after the source that he, had reported from, but not Oliver himself. So, and I think he's right. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a coal mine bump. So in the deep retreat mine, the thing blows up at the end, and then because of it blowing up, and then it collapses, right? So it blows up or it collapses, which is a little tremor, and then the whole thing collapsed. And when the whole thing collapsed, that actually caused a 3.9 on the Richter scale earthquake. So the coal mine collapsing caused the earthquake. So there was an earthquake that Bob Murray caused. Bob Murray caused it. There was another statement of fact that he had mentioned about the black lung, something about pensions and black lung, and then how he took the side of the black lung. And he was like, God, that's like watching My Girl and rooting for the bees. And that's absolutely true. So there's a pension thing about how he said that he fucked people over with pensions. And then there's the checks that he only give like $1 checks for their pensions. And, yeah. So, and Bob Murray owns the nation's largest privately held coal company. So that's why he's the symbol for the coal industry. He owns the biggest one. The biggest coal company is Bob Murray's. So whether Bob Murray likes it or not, he is representative of the coal industry. And he goes around on all these talk shows spouting his fucking mouth off anyways. So he sits there and says that Obama has an evil agenda. So, shouldn't Obama sue him for that, right? That's defamation. Poor Obama, he's got all that, shit to work on, and now it's an evil agenda. So, he is like a terrorist, like Al-Qaeda or some shit. So, evil. So, calling him evil is okay, but calling him geriatric doctor evil, there's something wrong with that. And the lawsuit is so fucking dumb. He's crying about every little bit. He was like, and then the squirrel, they brought a squirrel out, and the squirrel was making fun of me. And they're sitting there saying that he's something years old. My watch is beeping. I'll come back with some more.